I know how unsettling it can feel to even think about having a heart attack when you're all alone. That quiet moment when something doesn't feel right and there's no one around to help. But what if I told you there are simple, powerful steps you can take right now to protect yourself? Stay with me, because today I'll share 6 small things that might one day save your life. Let's start with something you might not expect. You see, a heart attack doesn't always begin with crushing pain like you see in movies. For many older adults, it starts much softer. Just a strange pressure in the chest, a bit of trouble catching your breath, or maybe some aching in the arm, back, or even the jaw. These signs can feel easy to ignore, especially if you think it's just indigestion or tiredness. But ignoring them is what puts you most at risk. As we age, our bodies sometimes send quieter signals, and those signals are easy to miss if we don't know what to watch for. I remember a man named Harry from Columbus, Ohio. He was 72 when it happened. Harry told me later that he felt a tightness in his chest one night while watching television. He thought maybe he'd just eaten something too heavy for dinner, so he decided to sleep it off. When he woke up the next morning, the tightness was still there, worse even. By the time he got to the hospital, his doctor told him he was lucky to be alive. Harry admitted he hadn't realized he was having a heart attack because it didn't feel severe enough. He thought, like many people, that he'd collapse or feel unbearable pain. But the truth is, many heart attacks start quietly. Harry's story stuck with me because it's so common and so preventable with a little awareness. What often helps is learning to recognize the signs early. If you feel pressure, pain, shortness of breath, or a cold sweat coming on, especially if it feels unusual, take it seriously. You don't have to wait for it to get worse. Just noticing these signs is already a big step towards saving your life. Remember, your body whispers before it shouts. Trust those whispers. Your life is worth listening to. The next thing I want to share might sound obvious, but believe me, it's the part many people hesitate to do. The moment you suspect something's wrong with your heart, you need to call 911 right away. I've met so many older folks who wait, telling themselves, maybe it'll pass if I rest for a bit. The truth is, every minute you wait is a minute your heart struggles. I know how easy it is to think you'll feel better soon, but when it comes to your heart, time is the one thing you don't want to waste. Your body needs medical help as soon as possible to limit the damage. That's why I always say, call first, think later. I'll never forget Margaret, a 68-year-old woman from San Antonio, Texas. She woke up one night with a heavy, burning sensation in her chest. She reached for her phone, and then she stopped. She sat on the edge of her bed for almost an hour, waiting to see if the feeling would go away on its own. Finally, the pain eased up, and she convinced herself it must have been nothing serious. But a few hours later, the pain came back even stronger. This time, she called 911 right away. The paramedics arrived quickly, and she got the care she needed. But when I spoke to her later, she told me how much she regretted waiting the first time. The doctor explained that even those extra minutes of hesitation could have made things much worse. Margaret learned that night how important it is to make that call as soon as your body tells you something's not right. One of the simplest ways to protect yourself is to make calling 911 your very first step. Don't wait to see if it gets worse. Don't try to tough it out. Just pick up the phone and call. Describe what you're feeling as best as you can and stay on the line until they tell you it's okay to hang up. You don't have to face this alone. Help is just one call away. Reaching out is the strongest thing you can do for yourself. Another small step that can make a big difference is unlocking your front door before you sit down or lie back. Now, I know that might sound strange at first, but let me explain why this matters. If you lose consciousness before help arrives and your door is locked, paramedics may have to waste precious minutes breaking it down. Every second counts in an emergency like this. Making sure the door is open means they can come straight in and start helping you right away. It's a small thing, but it can save time that your heart simply doesn't have to spare. I think of Bob, a 75-year-old retired mechanic from Jacksonville, Florida. One evening he felt a heavy pressure in his chest while reading in his recliner. He was smart. He called 911 immediately. But in his fear of getting up and maybe collapsing on the way to the door, he decided to stay seated and wait. When the paramedics arrived, they found the door locked. They had to break it down to reach him, costing them several valuable minutes. Luckily, Bob pulled through, but he told me later how that moment stayed with him. After that scare, he made a simple change. He gave a spare key to his neighbor and started keeping his phone and keys close by every evening, just in case. He never wanted to lose time like that again. What often helps is making a habit of keeping your door unlocked if you're waiting for help. If you feel steady enough, open the door and sit somewhere safe where they can easily find you. Or if you prefer, you can give a trusted neighbor or family member a key, so they can let rescuers in if you can't get to the door yourself. Sometimes, the smallest actions open the biggest doors to safety. You are never a burden for asking for help. You are a life worth saving. Here's something I want you to remember if you ever find yourself waiting for help. Sit down and try your best to relax your body. I know that sounds almost impossible when your heart feels like it's betraying you, but calming your body can actually slow the strain on your heart. When panic sets in, your breathing gets faster, your muscles tighten, and your heart has to work even harder. The more you fight the fear, the harder it is on your body. But if you can sit back, focus on your breathing, and let your body settle, you can give your heart a little bit of extra time to hold on. I think of Jenny, a 69-year-old widow from Tucson, Arizona. She told me once that the scariest part wasn't the pain, it was the fear of dying alone. One afternoon she started feeling short of breath, like she just couldn't get a deep breath in. She remembered a radio doctor saying once, "Slow your breathing, lean back and imagine holding someone's hand." Jenny sat down in her favorite chair, closed her eyes, and started breathing slowly. 4 counts in, 6 counts out. She told herself over and over, help is coming. And you know what? She held on long enough for the paramedics to arrive. Later, she told me it was that simple breathing that made her feel like she wasn't completely alone in the fight. What often helps is finding a steady, comfortable seat, like your favorite chair with a backrest. Sit back, put your hands on your lap or over your heart, and breathe slowly. Try counting as you breathe, in for 4 counts, out for 6. This helps calm your body and keeps your heart from working even harder than it needs to. Picture yourself holding someone's hand, even if they aren't there. You are never alone in spirit. Your breath is your quiet strength. It's the bridge that carries you toward help. One thing I always recommend to my patients is to keep a small bottle of low-dose aspirin somewhere easy to reach. It might sound too simple to make a real difference, but it absolutely can. See, aspirin helps thin the blood just enough to slow down the formation of a clot. That clot is often what's blocking blood from reaching your heart during a heart attack. Taking aspirin isn't going to stop the heart attack, but it can buy you precious minutes until medical help arrives. Those extra minutes might be all you need to survive. Many people over 60 already have aspirin in the house, but the real trick is knowing when and how to use it in a moment of crisis. I remember Frank, a 70-year-old Vietnam veteran from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Frank lived alone, but he was always the kind of man who liked to be prepared. One day during his regular checkup, we talked about heart health, and I mentioned keeping aspirin nearby. Frank nodded and told me he'd already placed a small bottle on his nightstand, just in case. A few months later, he woke up in the middle of the night with chest pain and a cold sweat. Without panicking, Frank reached for that bottle, chewed one 81-milligram tablet, and then called 911. The doctors later told him that small action may have made the difference between life and death. Frank told me afterward that having that aspirin ready gave him a sense of control in a moment when everything else felt out of his hands. What often helps is keeping low-dose aspirin, 81 milligrams, right next to your bed, in your purse, or near your favorite chair. If you ever feel symptoms of a heart attack, chew 1 tablet while you wait for help. Make sure your doctor has told you it's safe for you to take aspirin. Sometimes it's the smallest things that give us the biggest chances. You deserve to have every advantage on your side. 1 tiny tablet can carry you closer to tomorrow. And here's one more thing I believe every older adult should do. Make a simple, easy-to-follow emergency plan with someone you trust. You see, when panic hits, your mind can feel foggy. It's hard to remember what to do next, especially if you're scared or in pain. Having a plan written down somewhere, you can see it makes all the difference. It takes away the guesswork. It gives you something to hold on to when your thoughts feel like they're slipping away. And most importantly, it gives your loved ones a way to help you, even if they aren't standing right next to you when it happens. I once worked with a woman named Linda, 66 years old, from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Linda lived alone after her husband passed, and she often told me how afraid she felt about having a medical emergency with no one around. One day, during one of our regular talks, I suggested she sit down with her daughter and write out a step-by-step plan. They listed the signs to watch for, the number to call, and even who in the neighborhood had a spare key to her house. They printed it in big letters and taped it next to the phone and on the fridge. Linda told me later that just having that paper there made her feel calmer every single day. She knew exactly what to do if something happened. She wasn't frozen in fear anymore. She was ready. What often helps is writing down your own simple plan and keeping it somewhere easy to see. Make a short list. 1. Call 911. 2. Unlock the door. 3. Sit and breathe slowly. 4. Chew 1 aspirin. Share this list with someone you trust so they can remind you if you ever need it. Being prepared isn't fear, it's love in action. You deserve to live each day with peace of mind, knowing you've done everything you can to protect yourself. You are worth that care. I hope these small but powerful steps gave you something to think about today. Please take a moment to share in the comments what stood out to you the most or what you might try first. Don't forget to hit subscribe and tap the little bell so you never miss important tips like these. And remember, you are never truly alone. You are stronger than you realize, and life keeps reaching for you. Just keep reaching back.